Amputation recovery is hard because not only is your severed limb recovering, but you're battling a merciless domino effect that can topple your overall health and happiness. The same goes for chronic pain. But two can play at this game. What if you methodically set up your own dominoes, ones that add up to make life better instead of worse? Today, I'll share my dominoes, figuratively. Maybe they're not groundbreaking alone, but together they've combined to change my life. Number 1, your body heals while you sleep, but it's awfully hard to sleep when you're in pain. Cut! For years, I battled chronic exhaustion that was so extreme I could barely function.
I'm struggling just to keep my eyes open long enough to film this.
You know that drowsy feeling right before falling asleep when you can't keep your eyes open? It was like that nearly every moment of every day. I often reflected that if I had to choose between getting rid of chronic pain or my chronic exhaustion, I'd want to get rid of the exhaustion. With how severe my case was, the sleep medicine specialist was not optimistic I'd ever make a full recovery. Desperate, I went to a different type of doctor called a sleep psychologist. Rather than giving me meds, she gave me strategies that rewired my ability to sleep. I had no clue just how many factors impact sleep, and a lot of them are things you can do something about. The change didn't occur overnight, more like a gradual dawning of a new day, but the difference was just as dramatic as night versus day. If you'd like a video that goes into specifics, let me know in the comments. Number 2, even after so much improvement, there was some lingering exhaustion that we couldn't quite shake off. Things were not adding up, so my doctor ordered blood work. Turns out I had some deficiencies that explained both the lingering exhaustion and why I was struggling to regain muscle mass despite increased exercise. Once I was given the right supplements, I gained energy and muscle. Moral of the story, if you don't know the source of a problem, it's mighty hard to fix it. Blood work won't tell you everything, but sometimes it catches problems you otherwise would have missed. Next, I increased my activity level. I'm not talking about a big workout at the gym, more like incorporating physical activity into daily life, so you're getting frequent, consistent doses of activity. Since metabolism is partly a function of muscle mass, my hope was that over time I'd regain muscle mass, which would improve my metabolism, which would help my body heal, which would give me more energy. For me, the key was to make this activity part of my daily routine rather than a workout that I had to go do. I started biking to appointments, but you could go for walks, work in the garden, or turn on music in your kitchen and have a dance party. Obviously, structured workouts have their place, but if you're dealing with chronic pain and fatigue, there's a lot to be said for small, frequent activities that don't deplete your limited energy while still giving you that endorphin boost. I often notice my pain less when I'm doing something active. So even on days when I'm hurting and exhausted, I try to get up and move. Definitely talk to your doctor first, but the basic principle stands. Speaking of standing, did you know that sitting too much can have a real domino effect? After years as a full-time wheelchair user, I learned the hard way that staying in a seated position can shorten certain muscles, which can in turn affect your back, which can increase pain, which might prompt you to take more meds, which have side effects. You get the idea. It's a downward spiral. If you're able to stand or walk, even if it's not for very long, it can break up all that sitting. Or if standing is a no-go, lying flat is another way to lengthen those muscles.
Ooh, cheetah!
Your physical therapist can give you specific stretches for your unique situation. Speaking of physical therapy, I can't emphasize how life-changing it's been for me. Part of it's because I found an above-average therapist who really pushes me.
Thank you.
My treatment includes exercises and a ton of manual therapy, meaning things like releasing knots in my muscles, breaking up fascial and nerve adhesions, and dry needling. I've got a video that details how physical therapy improved my phantom limb pain more than medication. Physical therapy has been a long, hard slog.
Things are gonna get intense.
At times I wondered if I'd ever turn the corner, but one exercise at a time, one needle at a time, my physical therapist and I have obstinately kept at it. And things are starting to add up. If you have multiple medical issues in the mix, it could take years like it did for me, but that's so much better than allowing problems to compound over time. Sooner or later, patience and persistence tend to pay off. What you put in is often what you get out. So I've always been mindful of what I put in my mouth. It's hard because when you're struggling with pain and depression, Sometimes we just want comfort food. So why not look for healthy alternatives that meet both needs? The internet is full of creative recipes that are healthy while still scratching that same itch as traditional junk food. Getting blood work and talking to a nutritionist helped me identify which types of food I should focus on. In my case, I needed more protein. When you're struggling, it's sometimes easier to add in good things than it is to take away things that aren't as healthy. So if it's too hard to cut back on things like sugar, you can focus instead on identifying healthy foods that you actually enjoy and start adding them in. Instead of feeling like you're failing when you eat dessert, you could focus on the success of adding in a fruit or vegetable. I find that rather empowering. Like I keep saying, little changes tend to snowball. Speaking of little changes, are you drinking enough water? I've never been great at this until one of my medical providers pointed out that staying hydrated could help me have more energy and flush out cellular waste and toxins, which would help me feel better. Did drinking water magically fix everything? No, but when you combine it with other small changes, the cumulative effect can be substantial. Sometimes it's the simple basic concepts that are the most overlooked. So I mended my ways, and you know what? I think it's helping. Another basic that I never stopped to think about was simply being outside. If you look online, you can find a lot of research about how time outside helps with improved sleep, lower blood pressure, and improved mental health, and even decreased risk of chronic disease. We live in a busy, noisy, stressful world. When I'm outside and hear the birds singing and the wind rustling in the leaves, I feel better. Since stress can have such a negative impact on health, spending even a few minutes outside can make a big difference. It definitely has for me. Speaking of stress, I know there are innumerable approaches to dealing with stress. The one that's worked for me is to just do something happy. My happy place is stabbing people, which sounds awfully violent. Die! But going to fencing gives me something to look forward to. And even though it doesn't directly fix any of my medical problems, I feel better afterwards. I can't describe what a difference it's made to make happy things part of my weekly routine. If your life is full of hard things like pain, exhaustion, stress, and medical bills, you need something happy to offset those negatives. Otherwise, life feels miserable. The more depressed you are, the more you tend to notice pain and discomfort. When you're happy, it's easier to deal with other problems. You can find sources online that'll tell you how happiness affects your physical health, or you could just go out and do something happy and see for yourself what a big difference it makes. When my leg got crippled, nearly every aspect of my life got completely derailed. For years, I've been fighting to reestablish a sense of well-being. An important key was remembering that I don't have to fix everything at once. When a problem feels too big, I get overwhelmed. So I focused on one small building block, one domino at a time. And instead of fixating on problems that were beyond my ability to fix, I focused on factors I could control, such as improving my lifestyle and basic habits. This mattered especially when my medical team didn't know what to do to help. I'm not a doctor, and this video isn't medical advice, but I wanted to share my experience of how small, simple changes added up to make all the difference, even in situations where the main problem isn't curable. I didn't tackle these changes all at once, and I didn't have to be perfect. I just had to keep trying. Whatever you're going through, I hope you'll also keep going. Today might be hard, but you can lay the foundation for a better tomorrow. I'm Stephanina, and thank you for joining me on my amputee adventures.